Okay, let's talk about something that's, well, it's really difficult, but it's so important we do. Let's talk about church hurt. For so many people, the one place that's supposed to be a refuge ends up being the source of the deepest pain. So today, we're going to try to understand what that means, why it happens, and most importantly, see if we can find a way forward, a path towards some real hope. And we really have to start right here, with the raw, honest experience of someone who's actually lived it. Stephanie's words, man, they just cut right to the heart of it, don't they? This isn't about a simple disagreement or getting your feelings hurt. It's about a total breach of a sacred trust happening in the very place you were told you would be safest. That's the wound we're talking about today.
So what do we actually mean when we use that phrase, church hurt? You hear it a lot these days, but it goes so much deeper than just being offended. We're really talking about a specific and profound kind of pain, spiritual trauma.
And the key to this whole thing, what makes this kind of wound so uniquely devastating, is the source. It's coming from the very people, the very institution that was supposed to be there to build you up in your faith. And so the result isn't just emotional pain. It's a full-blown crisis that can literally shake the foundations of everything you believe.
And this comparison here just lays out the heartbreak of it all so clearly. On the left, you've got this beautiful vision of what church is meant to be, right? A hospital for broken people, a family, a safe harbor. But for someone who's been through church hurt, their lived reality is on the right. It's the complete opposite. And that disconnect, that's not just a disappointment. It's the shattering of a core hope. And that is a real and legitimate grief.
So of course, this brings up a really tough question, right? How on earth does this happen? How does a place that's supposed to be all about grace and faith become a source of these deep, painful wounds? We have to look at the anatomy of this broken trust.
Well, when you look into it, you start to see some of the same painful patterns pop up again and again. Sometimes it's a clear abuse of power by a leader. Other times it's that betrayal of confidence, just like Stephanie mentioned. A lot of the time it's just plain inept or untrained leadership that has no idea how to handle real-world problems. Or, and this one is tough, the institution itself starts protecting its own reputation above all else. And of course, there's the toxic culture of judgmentalism, or a place where asking hard questions is seen as a threat instead of a sign of a living faith.
This quote from Dr. Diane Langberg, man, it just stops you in your tracks. She talks about this old castle in Ghana where the beautiful chapel was built directly on top of the dungeons where enslaved people were held. The people upstairs were singing hymns, completely disconnected from the horror happening right beneath their feet. What a powerful, chilling picture of how a church can look righteous on the surface while completely ignoring the systemic sin and abuse happening right under its nose.
So when these things happen, what's the real-world fallout? The thing is, the impact isn't just a temporary sting. The wounds that come from spiritual trauma can leave these deep, lasting scars that really do affect every single part of a person's life.
In the aftermath, it can be just devastating. A person might start seeing God through the distorted lens of the person who hurt them, maybe as someone who's controlling or angry or just distant. Their ability to trust anybody, not just church leaders, can be completely shattered. This often leads to a massive faith crisis, sometimes with real clinical anxiety, depression, or even PTSD. It's a profound spiritual isolation where your core beliefs about who God is, and even who you are, just crumble.
But in the middle of all of this darkness, there is a way forward. There is hope. And it really begins with what is probably the single most important step in this entire healing journey. It's the turning point. Consciously, intentionally, disentangling God from the people who hurt you.
This, right here, this is the anchor. This is the truth you have to hold on to. People, even people in leadership, will fail you. They just will. But God's character is perfect and unchanging. Realizing that these are two totally separate things is the first giant leap toward clarity and healing.
And this just makes that distinction so crystal clear. On the one hand, you have the actions of fallible people. They're inconsistent, they're flawed, their acceptance of you is often based on conditions. But then you look at the character of God, unchanging, perfect, all-knowing. His love and grace are completely unconditional. Learning to separate these two columns in your mind and heart is absolutely life-changing.
Okay, but that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one thing to understand that idea in your head, but how do you actually do it? How do we really truly separate the two in our experience and begin to actually heal?
So let's spend the rest of our time here really digging into that very question. Let's look at a path to healing, a framework for restoration that's both grounded in the Bible and informed by what we know about trauma.
The journey has to start with just naming it, calling it what it was.
validating that your pain is real and the wound you carry is legitimate. It's about shifting the story from "what's wrong with me" to "something wrong happened to me." That shift right there is absolutely monumental.
And healing needs a very specific kind of environment to happen. This is where trauma-informed care gives us a really helpful map. First, you have to establish safety, a place where you're free from judgment. Second, trustworthiness has to be built slowly through consistency and transparency. And third, you have to be given choice, empowering you by honoring your autonomy. See how that works? It's the exact opposite of the trauma, which took away your safety, your trust, and your choices.
Healing also means being brutally honest with God, and the Bible actually gives us a powerful model for this. It's called lament. Look at this verse from Job. This is not a sign of weak faith. This is a raw, real, unfiltered cry of pain to God. You have permission to do this, to complain in the bitterness of your soul, because He is big enough to handle it.
And then, somewhere along this road, something amazing starts to happen. A new chapter begins. It's the process of reclaiming your own narrative. It's about looking back on all that pain and seeing it not just as a story of being a victim, but as a chapter in God's much larger, redemptive story for your life.
I mean, is there any better picture of this in the whole Bible than the story of Joseph? His brothers betray him, sell him into slavery. Their intent was pure evil. But years later, Joseph looks at them and says this. He doesn't deny what they did. You intended to harm me. But he's able to see God's bigger plan, weaving even their evil into something good.
And this is the beautiful, kind of upside-down way God works. He never wastes a wound. The very pain that once felt like it would break you can be redeemed and transformed into this profound well of empathy. The healed become uniquely equipped to become healers themselves, able to offer a special kind of hope to others walking that same hard road.
So I want to leave you with this to think about. After everything we've looked at, how trust is broken, how it gets rebuilt, what do you think is the one thing, that one essential ingredient that makes a community a truly safe place, a place where the wounded can finally heal and everyone can truly flourish?